Hi everybody, this is my 40-gallon open-top native tank, and it is lit by a Cree floodlight. Just a regular old outdoor floodlight, cost about $12, and it produces a beautiful light and a lot of it. And I have a lot of these same lights hanging over many of my tanks. I like open-top tanks. I also like good high quality light and brightly lit tanks. I love that flicker you get from LEDs shining down through the water. So I have been asked how I hang my LED floodlights over my tanks. Now, I'm not necessarily going to recommend you do this yourself, but I was asked how I do it, so I'm going to show you how I hang my LEDs above my fish tanks. So basically, we screw the light into a socket with a switch on it. I then take a garden stake. Those are, I believe they're either 18 or 24 inch garden stakes. They're the green metal kind that have a loop at the top. I use a pair of diagonal cutters to cut the loop off the top, and then I cut it to length, and I literally just slide it in and slide it in. If we just sort of twisted that, it would just come right out. And then I take literally a twisty tie that you get at the vegetable aisle at the grocery store. I grab a handful of them whenever I need some twisty ties, and that's it. I've got the light twisty tied to that little piece of metal that is wedged up into the edges of my drop ceiling. And if you'll come over here, you'll see I've got the pretty much exact same thing. I've got a little higher quality twisty tie on this one, but it is pretty much the exact same thing. It is simply the light cord hanging down with the socket with the light screwed into it, and that's how it hangs there. In this case, I have the floodlight screwed into a regular clip-on desk lamp. I then clip the clip into that, and then I put the floodlight in this, and it's, you know, it's flexible. I can move it around, change the angle of the light. So if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know I'm not really into unnecessary swank, and I don't really like overly complicated solutions to things. So you'll see I've got another light hanging here. I'll go ahead and turn that on. Now this one I just spray painted. I hit it with 3 or 4 different shades of green and brown to kind of blend it in there a little bit. But again, just a light screwed into a socket. And this one is hanging onto a piece of PVC that has a chain running through it. Actually, it doesn't even have the chain running through it. It just has the chain hooked to each end and then hooked to the drop ceiling. And then that gives me a bar where I can slide this back and forth wherever I want it and hang it above whatever position I want in the tank. And I originally had multiple lights hanging down above it, and I hung them on those little metal hooks. And again, this is the same metal I was talking about, those plant stakes. I'm sure you've seen these. They sell them pretty much everywhere. And I just use, you know, a pair of diagonal cutters and cut them off. And I use them for little hooks and hangers and props and everything else. They're nice, sturdy little pieces of metal. Now, if we want to get into some really elaborate setup, I have a 1x little piece of wood. Again, no swank there, nothing, no big deal. It is suspended by, I guess they call those teacup hooks. And then I went to the Home Depot and I got these special lights that have these hooks on them. And I ran them in sequence myself, or in series. I don't know how you would say that, but they basically, ouch, that was my knee. I forgot the doors open to the cabinet down below. I'm getting ready to do a water change, and I was going to pull the filter out. So anyway, they're all run in a row. I did that myself. I wired them in where I wanted them, you know, distance-wise apart. I then put little hooks on them and put staples in, and this staple actually looks like it's getting ready to come out, so I better get on that and do something. And that's it. Those are literally just staple gun staples, and then the hook just slides over it and hooks onto it. I did put zip ties around the wire just in case one ever does come unhooked, it won't fall down into the tank. Now, the way the bar is held up, that whole entire bar is likewise held up on a series of those same metal, plant stakes. And then I tied 300-pound test braided fishing line to the right length. And while I tested that myself and it doesn't actually hold 300 pounds, one little strand of that almost was able to lift my weight off the ground before it broke, and it broke at the knot. So the string itself might actually be strong enough to hold 300 pounds. It was my knot that actually broke. So I'm not worried about that breaking. I am kind of worried sometimes, like the weight of it might pull down, or if I bump it and knock on it, if these knock down. But I do have 4 of them up there, and so far so good. I haven't had any problem. I have actually taken this light bar down, and I will have to do it again when I get around to getting into this tank and pulling this huge piece of wood out. I really have to get this light bar out of the way, so being able to just take these and twist them and pull them down out of my drop ceiling, and then I can set that whole bar on the ground behind the tank, and I've got space to work above the tank. So that's it. Like I said, I'm not really one for overly complicated solutions, and I never have much money to spend, so I'm never really building anything complicated or fancy or whatever. So there you go. Again, not necessarily going to suggest you doing that yourself, but I was asked how I do it, and that is in fact how I do it. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, this one here is my 125-gallon New World tank. I'll see you real soon in the next one.